Why are people so mad when I mention the use of fisheye lenses in space faking curvature? But when Neil deGrasse Tyson mentions it, no one bats an eye. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me today are some very prominent voices in the flat earth community. You guys know David Weiss, known for his absolute passion and advocacy, compelling arguments on his Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app on the App Store, by the way. And we've got Matt Long as well, a content creator, a flat earth advocate, excited to have a conversation with these gentlemen. Now, we're going to explore everything from the origins of their beliefs to the evidence that they find most convincing, and additionally, the questions that they think everyone should be asking. And this isn't just about whether the earth is round. It's not about if the earth is flat. It's about questioning the narratives that we've been taught. And we're going to explore the depths with these gentlemen of what we actually believe to be true. So whether you're here to challenge your own perspective or you're just curious about what drives this movement, stick around. This is going to be eye-opening. This is going to be a cool stream. And I know that there's some of you that say, Brandon, what the hell are you doing? And quite frankly, I don't care what you think. I will talk to anybody that I want to talk to. And I'm excited to talk to these gentlemen. Let's go ahead and bring these guys up here. Make sure they're unmuted first. Hey. What's up? Oh, hold on. We got three. Hold on. I got to do this right.
There you go.
It is.
Hey, wait, before you tune out, before the people that are tuning out, 3 Bitcoins. If you can come up with one globe proof when we're done, all you got to do is send one globe proof to me and you win 3 Bitcoins. Stick around.
Love it. Love it. And how long have you had that challenge now?
It's been over 5 years, maybe six years.
Yeah.
And it was 1 Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin crashed whenever it crashed. So I upped it to 3. And now we're back up. What are we at? 60? And so, but it's still at 3, and because this is a crypto hex loving, pulse chain loving community, for your viewers, if they say when they give me their globe proof that they're a fan, I know you don't like fans, but if they tell me they're a fan, which is against your policy, they get 6 Bitcoins just for you.
Wow. That's impressive.
They will also get banned from the channel for life.
You also get banned if you say you're a fan, right?
Yes.
You guys know that already. So
yeah, they know. Do not like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, don't.
Okay,
there
guys. All right, I'll start with you, Dave. Let me give some background here. When I first started streaming, I had, unbeknownst to me, I had quite a few flat earthers in my chat. Okay, and this was kind of like the crypto community, Hex and Pulse Chain. And I started getting some inquiries. They said, hey, you should really stream with David Weiss. And I said, who is this guy? Who's Flat Earth Dave here? And what was interesting about it was they started baiting me with very controversial questions while I was streaming. And they know that I'll answer. I didn't realize it, but Dave here was, and whoever's in charge of his social media, they're clipping these answers that I was making, and he's hyping his crew up. He's like, we're streaming with this guy next week. We're gonna chew him up and spit him out.
No, we're not. We're gonna softly teach you the truth and bring you to the light from the dark.
Well, and so what was interesting about this stream was I had the intention in my mind to truly listen to you and understand and learn. That's how you become a flat earther. And it was the community, man. I've not seen a stronger online community than the community that you have. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, which is going to lead into the other thing we're going to talk about today, which you haven't mentioned. But the strength of our community is going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Yeah,
we'll get into that right after these intros. Yeah. So, Dave, kind of tell people who you are, what you're all about, and why you're doing what you're doing here.
Yeah, so I grew up on the East Coast, went through college, corporate America. I rose to the top of the companies that I worked for, and then I kind of left and started my own solar commercial power development company with two partners, and we were doing incredibly well. I was making more money than I ever thought I'd make. And at the same time, I was doing a conspiracy podcast, looking into some things. And, people said, Dave, you got to look into flat earth. And just like any smart person, I said, you're an idiot. And I just banned them for life. I'm not going to look at your stupid video. But then I was forced to look by a researcher that I like very much. And I went in with a bad attitude. I wasn't like you, Brandon. I went in, I said, I'm just going to debunk this shit and embarrass these people and tell them to take a hike. And I tried and I tried. That was 10 years ago. And here I am, Flat Earth Dave. I created this app. These are the people that have my app, which represent less than 1% of the flat earthers. Take a look. These are the people that have my app. These are the people that know the earth is flat. And all of these people are waking up people that are next to them. So this, soon we're not going to be able to see the United States at all. Here's the UK. I mean, this is a worldwide, around the world. You can make that joke if you like. Just like going around town, it's the same thing. They're all over the place. So I realized, and any of you that are listening that have never really looked into flat Earth, after your proofs are taken away, what about seasons, sunsets, horizon, airplanes, everything you want to say, after that's taken away, you're going to throw your hands up in the air because you're smart, and you're going to say, well, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. Well, the truth is, I don't have to go to work on Monday. That changed. And when this is the most important secret in the world, because when you unplug from the heliocentric satanic model, you unplug from their matrix. We have to get off their fiat currency. We also have to get off their playing field and get back onto the real playing field that we're on. And then we don't have to abide by their rules. So that's who I am. I go out on podcasts. I just did Roseanne Barr. I was on Alex Jones, InfoWars. I did Stu Peters and 1,300 other interviews since 2021. I've been all over the place. I got some other big interviews coming up that I'm not going to mention yet. And,
Trump.
Yeah, Trump's going to interview me next. I'll do it.
Oh, that would make people's heads pop. That's for sure. Dude, hey, thank you so much, man, for hopping on here. I appreciate you. I'm excited about this conversation here. Matt, kind of tell us who you are, tell us your background. How'd you get interested in flat Earth?
Sure.
And what was the point that made you take it seriously? Like, talk to me about that too.
Yeah, normally I'm introduced in public settings as Dave's friend, Matt Long. Dave and I co-hosted the Flat Earth podcast for a number of years. We still co-host it, and the big joke is we'll be coming out with a new episode anytime now. It's just it was a bi-yearly podcast, and then yearly, and then now I'm not sure, maybe.
I think we're going to be coming out with one actually within the next week, hopefully before September 11th.
Yes, before September 11th, we will ideally be coming out with another one. So I was just normal guy looking into things like the Nephilim, and I kind of became a Christian later in life. I started reading the Bible later in life, and I was looking into Genesis 6, where supposedly angels come down from heaven and have children with earthly women. And it wasn't something I ever remembered hearing about in Sunday school or my pastor talking about in church. And it was crazy. And so I started ingesting everything that I could find on it. And I found a YouTube video from this guy who I'd been watching a lot. And I didn't look at the title of the interview. And a lot of times you can't see the full title of the video on YouTube anyways. So I start watching it, and he starts talking about flat Earth, which I thought was crazy. But I had recently been looking into all kinds of stuff in the Bible, whether it's like young earth creationism, age of the earth, things like that, Noah's flood, and alternative explanations as to what science tells us, geology tells us, and things like that. And he started talking about how you could still circumnavigate the flat earth, how the United Nations map was the map of the flat earth. And then he started referencing...
Who was this? What was the name?
It was a guy named Rob Skiba, the late Rob Skiba, and he started referencing Bible scriptures, and I was instantly smacked in the chest, felt like the hand of God literally punching me, and I immediately felt like, oh man, I am hearing truth. And I don't think it hits everybody like that, but I do feel like God kind of gave me a flat earth ministry, kind of on the biblical side, and so I feel like he hit me harder with it. But I spent the next 2 years investigating it, doing some experiments of my own to try to prove to myself I wasn't crazy. I then started putting out content on YouTube and other platforms. I met Dave. We started doing the podcast together. I wrote a book. It's called The House That Jesus Built, The Biblical Shape of the Earth, an Intelligent Alternative Design. You can go to mattlongbook.com and it'll take you to the Amazon link there. And that book was originally like a bow for me that I was just going to tie on flat earth and move on to other things. But I just feel like God keeps pulling me back into this arena. And so I've recently rewritten that book to, whereas before the previous version was mostly to like a Christian flat earther and like a tool for them to evangelize with. Now it's a book that could really be given to anybody who's never even heard of the topic. It'll take you through 14 logical reasons why it's okay to doubt what we see on screens and in textbooks.
Yeah, here's what's interesting. A large swath of the flat Earth community ties in biblical reasons for thinking that the Earth is flat, and also you hear quite a bit about, like you even said, Dave, there's satanic forces at play here. So I found it interesting when I got into this to understand that was also an angle. It's like we seek the truth. We think the truth is from God, and God says that the earth is flat. You see, like for me, it was the book of Enoch, for example, was absolutely mind-blowing and wild to me. Now, I'll ask your guys' opinion on that shortly here. But I found that interesting always. And have you guys shared that experience to see other folks who believe in God kind of tie this together with flat earth as well?
Sure. Yeah. I think from my perspective, and love to hear Dave's next, but for me, when trying to tell people about flat earth, the only thing worse than Christians are pastors, because those are the people that think they know their scriptures and think outer space is in their scriptures. They also don't understand that it is a salvational issue for someone who has never heard it before. So someone who's a Christian and has their salvation, in my opinion, flat earth is not a salvational issue for them. But in my 20s, when I didn't believe page 1 of the Bible, thus I wouldn't read page 2, it was the heliocentric scientific model that was my stumbling block. Because of my university level astronomy, physics, and geology classes, page 1 of the Bible looked like a fairy tale. So there was no reason for me to read page 2. Jesus loves you wouldn't have done anything for me because there was no credibility behind it. So when Romans talks about people can get to know God, this is Romans 1:20, you can get to know God through the things that were made. So if that's the case, if you can get to know God through the creation, then in my opinion, of course, there's going to be an evil agenda to dilute what that creation is. And the way you dilute something is you pour it into something bigger, like infinite space, and teach people that they're just insignificant probabilities of an ever-expanding, potentially infinite universe. Dave, what do you think?
Once you see the flat earth, so I was pretty much an atheist my whole life, and I'll tell you the quick story of how that happened. But then I found out about flat earth after trying to debunk it, and I looked at the evidence, and once you understand that this place is intelligently designed, you have no other choice but to understand that there's a creator, whether you like it or not. There's no other choice. In the heliocentric model, you say, God created, the Big Bang and then all the planets and everything, all the whole stupid story about the whole cosmos. God did that, or God didn't do it. It was just a Big Bang, right? So you have a choice. But in the flat earth, when you understand it's intelligently designed, you have no choice. And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of people finding out that this place is intelligently designed, and then there will be no atheists. When I was a little kid, born in a Jewish family, non-practicing, never really went to temple or anything. I got a pseudo bar mitzvah when I was 16 because my father got remarried to some crazy Jewish woman. And she's like, you got to do it, and I was like, whatever. And so I wasn't, right? But in high school or junior high school, everyone was going on these trips called Young Life, which was a Christian organization, and they were all going to Bermuda. And I was like, I want to go. My mother's like, just go. It's okay. You can go. And so I went. And the first day we were there, we go on this hike and we go out to a cliff and we all sit around, and the guy leading us is going to do a little Bible study. I'm like, okay, Bible study. I was like, I've never, I know nothing about it. And he opens up the Bible, and the first thing he reads was a verse where the stars fell to the earth. And I'm like, that's a fairy tale. Stars are like, the size of a city, and the earth is the size of a marble, right? Mm-hmm. How could a star fall to the earth? And right there, I said, I don't believe any of that. I just like Matt said, I never looked at the Bible for another 40 years.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So logically, in your mind, you're like these things are supposed to be. I've been taught that they're 100 times the size of the Earth, or 1,000, or 10,000 times,
millions and millions and millions of times bigger.
It's just
right?
a speck, and there's no way it could fall to the Earth. So you're thinking that these. Well, we'll get into that.
I just said that I just disregarded the whole Bible and most religions, or all religions, because of that. I looked at all different religions. I looked at, I kind of investigated them all, and I just like, nah, I'm not buying it. It's really hard for me to say now. I used to believe in evolution and the Big Bang, and we came from pond scum. One time, lightning struck and made something out of nothing, and then it turned into a fish, and the fish grew legs, and it climbed out of the water and found another sexy fish with legs that had a monkey, and that monkey had a human. Okay. I mean, that's literally the story that they want you to believe. And, and I believed it.
Guys, let's get into this. And the idea here is I'm going to throw out questions. I'm going to play kind of a semi-skeptical role here and just press in a little bit. And we're going to talk about flat Earth because my community, this podcast, picking up a whole lot of different viewers from across the world because I'm not necessarily advertising to the crypto side. So these are going to be brand new folks, and I want to dig in. So maybe the flat Earth theory basics. Dave, I'll start with you. For those who may not be familiar, maybe you can break down the core principles of flat Earth and what is the flat Earth model.
Yeah, so if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get nothing. You're going to get disk floating in space. This is a balloon at 120,000 feet. The Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour below them. It was up here for 3.5 hours. It should have landed 3,000 miles away, but it landed actually east of where it took off. But the Earth is spinning to the east. It should have landed west, but it outran the Earth, and then it landed. So you can see here, and whenever we send a balloon up this high, the sun is never above it. It's always almost at the same level, and it's kind of a local light. You can see that it's kind of lit around there, and it's darker over on the side, right? But if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get this. This is a false model. This is what they want you to believe, right? Because this is stupid, and you'll never look at it again. Flat Earth
cool. It looks cool.
Well, it does look cool, but it's stupid. It's stupid. You're not stupid. It's stupid. When you try to, people think, I can't figure that out. No, you can't figure it out because it's stupid, right? This is a double false model here. Of course, not the scale, but you have the heliocentric lie with the flat Earth lie, right? This is not what flat Earth is, right? People don't even understand, their own system. When I talk to somebody that's new, thinks flat Earth is stupid, I start asking them questions about their own model. I say, how fast is the Earth spinning? They don't know. How fast is it orbiting? 66,000 miles an hour. They don't know that. How fast is it chasing the sun? Because the sun's moving at almost 500,000 miles an hour. You cannot fathom what these speeds are. Let me show you what they are. This is called the hypersonic sled track. I don't have sound on it, but if you look it up yourself, the sound is shocking. Watch this. Can't even see it. Goes by at Mach 8.6. You can't fathom that speed. Could you fathom double that speed? You have to believe that the lumpy rock world, surrounded by smooth curved water, surrounded by air adjacent to a vacuum, which is impossible, is going 10 times faster than this around in an elliptical curved path around the Earth and chasing the sun, around the sun, chasing the sun 100 times faster than that. And then when we go out into nature, we see stuff like this. All of this is going on at speeds that you can't even comprehend. And we can go out and we can see flat water like that, right? We can see this, right? What is that? What do your senses tell you?
Stillness.
It's absolute stillness. Absolutely 100% still, right? This is where you live. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat. Water needs containment. If you had a pond and you took away part of the side of the pond, the water's going to flow away. Take away the part of the side of a giant lake, it's going to flow away. If you took away the side of the Earth, what side? The Earth is a ball, right? Well, this is what the Earth looks like. We live in a pond, and everything outside of this, which some people call the ice wall, I just call it the shoreline of Antarctica, is Antarctica. We don't know what's out here. We can speculate. I love doing that, and there's lots of evidence, but this is the shoreline of our world. If you look at the average elevation of all of the continents, Antarctica. Hold on. If we look at the average elevation, can you guess? Let me get rid of that. Can you guess which one is Antarctica?
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
And Antarctica is over double any other height. That's because it's the shoreline of our world. Antarctica. This is the average height of the plateau on Antarctica. Antarctica also has the highest mountains in the world. Wait a minute. What about Everest? Higher than Everest, right? But they don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to know anything about Antarctica. And anything they tell you is usually just a lie. And there's so much evidence. I'm going to go into one thing and I'm going to throw it over to Matt because Matt has another way to look at it. But I'll show you one of my new favorite proofs. And there are so many now. Each one by itself debunks the globe. Debunks the globe 100%. So during World War II, the Germans used the Knickerbein system, which basically shot a microwave radio signal for hundreds of miles. And it's a line of sight transmission. And the plane would fly in that beam and they'd hear beep. And if they went off course, it would go beep, 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 beep. And so they could find the center of that beam. And that's the way they could fly at night and get to their target. The problem is it wouldn't tell them where their target was. It would just tell them it was somewhere on that line. But then they get another beam and they'd make it cross that. And when it hits to that cross, it can hear the tones, it drops the bombs, and they successfully blew up some manufacturing plants that they wanted to get. And it worked. But when they planned it, some of the generals, some of the people, the scientists were like, nope, it's not going to work. The Earth curve is going to block it. And the general in charge goes, forget it. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. And they're like, the scientists are like, it's not going to work. The Earth curve is going to block it. Right. So we found one. This is the transmitter right here, 205 feet. It was in Ringsted. And it shot the where they were going was where they were the plant they were going for was in Mata Gramandi, right? This is 631 feet. Oh no, 3,631 feet, 205 feet, right? With 515 miles. Now, if you use the Earth curve calculator, not the flat Earth calculator, the Earth curve calculator, the hidden part behind the bulge of the Earth is 129,000 feet. That's 24 and a half miles. There's no mountain high enough. 24 and a half miles of Earth in the way. 24 and a half miles of a bulge of Earth in the way. So that is impossible 100%. So the plane would fly, you go beep, 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 and then it would hear it and would drop the bombs right there. And it worked. Okay. That's like saying, and the globe would go, oh, refraction, right? That would be like, hey, this guy here, he's standing behind that house, but the house refracts down and he refracts up and you can see the person again. That's how stupid it is.
So let's go back to this real quick, because in the military, we learned about line of sight. So line of sight means you have a transmitter that is directly pointed to a receiver and there can't be any obstruction, essentially. Right.
515 miles, the amount of curvature is 24 and a half miles, including that extra height they were up, right? Including it. People are like, well, you can't see the bottom of the mountain. You can't see the whole mountain. When we look at things in the distance, it is unbelievable. And then submarines, same thing. On the bottom of the ocean, they could see another submarine 100 miles away. There should be a mountain of dirt over a mile high between them, right? It's impossible. Impossible. One other quick one, and then they'll go to Matt.
Yeah.
Frozen lake, right? So we got a guy, he goes on this lake and he got his camera 6 inches off the ground. He verifies everything. He puts these lights at 8 miles, 7, 6, and 5 miles away. It doesn't seem that far, but at that height, the horizon should be at a specific distance, the horizon, and that's something we should talk about. And this one should be and this I'm accounting with magical refraction. So it's more than this. 30 feet below the curve, 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet below a physical curve, right? Below a physical curve. You can't see my mouth because it's behind a physical curve. On a ball, the horizon is a physical curve, but for some reason, these things all refract up and stop exactly at eye level.
Do me a favor, bring that ball back up.
Yeah.
And put it up on the camera. Put your finger behind the horizon.
So here's my fingernail. Here's my fingernail, and it's going away, and it disappears from the bottom up.
So if there's, for example, if there's a line of sight sensor right there, or if there's a camera, then you should not be able to see it because it's going to run into the curve. Now, the excuse and what they're talking about here is, well, electromagnetic energy refracts and propagates and travels through the atmosphere in a weird way, and it bends over the horizon. What do you say to that?
No, it can't, because it would scatter, it would spread out. So it would have to skip and skip and skip again. It would just be an incoherent microwave. And there's no, the Globers have no explanation. So they ignore this. They won't acknowledge it. They won't even try to debunk it, because if they do, that means they have to acknowledge it. And they can't. You can't, they can make up stories about anything, but they won't even talk about this one. It's absolutely ridiculous. Check this out, right? Check it out. So you got your horizon here, and the horizon is supposedly the Earth curve, but we zoom in, and all of a sudden we see this. These are dolphins, okay, that are beyond that line. They're miles beyond that line, and they're jumping. So are they jumping from behind the ball and going, hey, look at me, look at me? They're way behind that line. This is just the how your eyes see. You can only see to a certain point, right? When I look down at the floor, down at my feet, I'm looking 90 degrees down. If I look at something 10 feet away, that's kind of like a 45-degree angle. If I look at something 100 yards away, it almost seems like a straight line from my eyes. But the truth is, on a flat surface, the ground is always below you. It appears to rise to eye level, because that's how your eyes work, but it's always 6 feet below your eyes if you're 6 feet tall. Okay, it's always 6 feet below your eyes. But in the distance, a couple miles away, it looks like it's at your eye level. And then your eye cannot resolve anything. If you go up higher, yeah, you can resolve things better.
Love it. Matt, what do you say about all this? Do you have a different opinion on this, or what's this all about?
No, it's very similar. I do approach it from kind of a different standpoint, in that when I was finding out about flat Earth, I was very involved in discovering that the Bible is actually a true document, that it's a historical documentation of things that have happened in our past. And so when I found out, one, we experience a flat, non-rotating Earth, all of us. None of us have seen the curve. None of us have experienced the motion. Yet it's going to be up to me to explain why I believe the Earth is flat and motionless. That's a little bit weird, right? It's like the burden of proof shouldn't be on me, because I'm just explaining what I see and what I feel. So we experience a flat, non-rotating Earth. The Bible describes a flat, non-rotating Earth in over 100 verses. And science, as you've seen, proves, from what Dave's talking about, proves a flat, non-rotating Earth with the lack of curvature, with the lack of motion. The only thing that is in opposition to these things that we see and feel are what we see on screens and textbooks. And all the people who write those textbooks and do those Discovery Channel specials all have the same worldview. And it's the worldview that nothing exploded and created everything without the help of an all-loving, all-powerful creator. So I come at it from more of a biblical mindset and think about, well, if the Earth is a spinning ball flying through space, how did God stop the Earth when Joshua asked him to do it, when Joshua was chasing down the Amalekites? God stops the sun and the earth over specific places. How is it that the earth was created 3 days before the sun in the Genesis account? Because the earth is supposed to be revolving around the sun. That doesn't work. How is it that the devil takes Jesus up to a high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world if he's on a ball? How is it that the whole world is going to see Jesus when he comes back on the clouds if we're on a ball? And over and over and over, the Bible over 70 times talks about the sun, moon, and stars is moving, and never once talks about the earth is moving. In fact, it says the earth is fixed and immovable. So all of these things combine to say that we live on a flat, non-rotating earth system where the earth is encapsulated under a dome, which is inside of water, actually. And the North Pole is at the center, as Dave showed you, and the South Pole is the South Pole doesn't exist. At the edges is Antarctica, which is not a continent at the bottom of the ocean, but rather a continental ice shelf. And this can be proven in the way that compasses work, because the compass always points north. And the further you get away from north, it doesn't now start to point south. Actually, the further away you get from north, the worse a compass works. In fact, when you're in Antarctica, they say you might as well not even bring a compass because it's so wacky, when it should be more accurate, just pointing to the south. So I think that's proof that we only have a North Pole at the very center of our world.
Compasses should not work on the equator, because it'd be equally pulled from the North Pole and the South Pole.
Good point.
It wouldn't know which way to go. Let me show you this. A lot of people say, What about Polaris, our North Star? You can't see it in South America. True. Well, that's not 100% true. It has been seen as far as 30 degrees south, which completely rules out the ball. But about the equator is where you lose it. So here's a guy. This is the North Star over the center of our circle, our world, right? And so that's at a 90-degree angle. And then if he moves over here, that's about a 45-degree angle. If he moves over here, that's about 25, we'll say. And if he keeps on going, it'll get less and less and less. However, it'll never merge into the horizon. You know why? Because this is what's called an orthographic view. You never see the world this way. You never see the side of your face except in a picture like this, right? So you can't see it. So this is what happens. Here's 90 degrees. He moves away. It goes down to 45 degrees. He moves away. It goes down to 25 degrees. He keeps on going. And this is just going to merge into this horizontal eye zone.
So you're saying that that's what happens with the flat Earth model?
100%. That's what happens. It would also happen on a globe. Here's the thing. We're terrestrial beings. We're on the flat Earth. We're on the Earth. And then you have the atmosphere. Let's say it's 10,000 feet of atmosphere. Well, when you are looking straight up, you're looking through 10,000 feet, and then it's kind of clear. So we have a clear shot of whatever is above the atmosphere, right? But when you're looking away straight across, you're looking through all atmosphere, and it becomes opaque. Like if you're looking through a pane of glass, great, put another pane of glass, put another pane, put 50 panes together, you can't see through it, even though they're all clear. It's the same thing with the atmosphere. The atmosphere becomes opaque. And not only does it become opaque, it converges top to bottom, left to right. Let me show you. Here is, it can, you know how the perspective grid, you know, the sides come together, the top and the bottom go down, and everything goes into that line. Well, that 10,000 feet of atmosphere gets compressed into a line which looks like it's at your eye level. Now, the ground, remember I said it's always 6 feet below you. If you're standing at the edge of calm water, the water is always 6 feet below you, but it looks like it rises to eye level, or almost, right? The sky, that 10,000 feet, all compresses into that same line. So it all to you looks like it's at eye level. So if this is the 10,000 feet of atmosphere, right, the sun just goes beyond it.
Got
and
it.
This here looks like it's at your eye level. I know I'm talking a lot, but I've got some graphics, and let me just show you this. So this is, let me show you this. All right, so this is, where is it? Okay, all right, so here's the perspective grid that we're talking about. And everything, here's his eye line right here. You can follow it to the back. We put this mountain here. Let's say it's 3,000 feet above him. And here's the sun. The sun is moving away. Now, it looks like it's going down. It's just moving away. Is the sun below the horizon? No, it's just beyond the mountain. It's just beyond the mountain, right? Just like here, if we're looking up at this, it's 12 o'clock noon. We're looking straight up at a building. And now it's like 1 o'clock and the sun is not below the horizon. It's just beyond the building, right? If this person went backwards, they'd be able to see the sun, because the building would get smaller and smaller. So let's go back to this. So the sun is just there. So if this guy moved backwards, we'll move him back, right? And there's the sun again. Now the sun goes farther away. Again, it goes beyond this line right here. Now this line is still 3,000 feet above his eyes, but it looks to him to be at eye level. We'll add the clouds. Yeah. So we had the clouds, right? 10,000 feet of clouds. They're all merging into that line also. The sun is above it. The sun goes beyond it, not below it, right? So this line here is the part of it is 3,000 feet above his eyes. The atmosphere is another 5,000 or 10,000 feet on top of that. But to him, it all looks like it's at eye level. It all looks like it's at eye level. That's how we see people will fight that left and right. Globers will deny it. Right. And just one more thing. I haven't shown this yet. So this is a shot from first, before I tell you what it is, what is more space, from here to here or from this arrow to this arrow? Which one is more space?
It looks like, obviously the bigger space.
Yeah. So here we have an island, which is about a quarter of a mile away from me here. Okay. I'm standing here. This mountain's a quarter mile away. I don't know if you can see right here, but this line here, if I zoom in, you can see that it's New York City. You can see all the buildings, the trade tower, and that's 25 miles away. So that's 100 times farther than from here to here. From here to here is 100 times this distance. So
Brandon,
not only
so
do things... Brandon, are you
so dumb.
What's so dumb?
Brandon, he didn't get it right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Brandon, yeah, you're so dumb. So like we have this boat here, and the boat gets smaller, and here at a quarter mile away, it's really small. It's got to go 100 times. It's got to reduce in size 100 times to go from here to here, right? So people say, well, how come? So basically, right here is the limit of how far you're going to see. But things will still get smaller, right? Let's say it's 25% smaller here, 25% smaller there. It's got to do that 100 more times. So it's going to disappear. And you're going to think it went over a curve because of programming.
All right.
Wait, last thing I just want to say is...
Go ahead, Dave.
This is crap that you have to think about. They teach you in school to memorize, get the A, and forget it. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is stuff that you actually have to think about. And, your community are thinkers, right? Because they're getting off the fiat system and they're listening to you. Maybe they don't think that much. But,
I know. Gosh, don't go that far.
Yeah. But, thinking is actually really good. It's like exercising. You got to do it a lot or it hurts. So, flat earthers do a lot of thinking.
Absolutely.
Right,
now, I wanted to show you guys this tweet. I'll pull it up here.
Yeah.
And I put this out a while back, maybe a month ago or so. And I said, why are people so mad when I mentioned the use of fisheye lenses in space faking curvature? But when Neil deGrasse Tyson mentions it, no one bats an eye. And I specifically said, you don't have to be a flat earther to speak the scientific truth about this topic. And I want to play this for the audience here, and then we'll kind of talk about it. Okay, guys?
Go.
And that dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, what's his name? Felix Baumgartner. He would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump. Now, I don't. It's fine. He wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it. But the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. Right. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, wow, he's in space. Look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't.
All right. So
hold on.
Wait a minute. Play the last line.
Play the last. Okay, you guys know. All right.
That stuff is flat.
There you go. you took away the punchline. Come on, man.
No, dang. I'm part of the resistance.
Yeah. So what that does, I actually think he did that as a response because there was so much flat Earth content coming out around that time. And people using the lack of curvature as a proof that we're not on a ball, which I obviously take that as proof. And so they had to come out with some misinformation beyond that. But it's telling that the farthest we can go, supposedly right now, off the surface of the Earth is about 250 miles, if you believe the narrative. And that's like driving from Dallas to Houston. It's not very far. They want us to think, outer space is achievable and galaxies beyond galaxies. And what is reality is everything that's portrayed as space is actually what's called computer generated images, right? There's a difference between photos and images. And because we can't go very high off the surface of the Earth, that's why they say we're not able to produce an actual photo of the entire Earth. They have to stitch together low altitude balloon footage of the Earth and create what's called the Blue Marble series, which on NASA's website, almost verbatim, it says we had to take the flat map, wrap it around the ball, and add photos and add clouds in Photoshop. And that's how they create
they can't. Yeah. And Dave, I'm going to point this out real quick, and then this is going to be cool here. It gets me so frustrated to hear, for example, pilots pilots say that, yeah, we're cruising along at 40,000 feet and we can definitely see curvature. We can see it bending over the horizon. And then they say, all you got to do is look out the window. And I'm like, dude, I've looked out the window. I can't see it. And then you have, what was funny in that tweet was the comments, which is these people, they're so against even thinking on their own that they're attacking Neil deGrasse Tyson, their Lord and Savior. Right. So it was very interesting for me to watch. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So, what people don't understand is you can only see a certain distance in all directions. So if let's say just for a distance, 100 miles at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's 100 miles. Connect all those points. That's creating a flat circle, but your programming sees sphere, right? You don't see a straight line across. You can only see the same distance. So if you had a string 100 miles long and you ran it around, it's going to make a circle. And that's the curve that you're seeing, if you can even see it at all. This is Felix. This is a fisheye lens. And, they said, oh, have you ever been in airplanes? And we said, no, you can't see it in an airplane. And they're like, oh, have you ever been in a MiG fighter, 70,000 feet, the Mythbusters that went up there? But one of their cameras was not a fisheye and it showed a perfectly flat horizon. So we debunked that. Then they're like, then the Red Bull jump, stuff came out. And we proved that was a fisheye lens, and then Neil did the damage control. All of this land. Now look at this. How much of the Earth is this, Brandon?
That would be such a small amount of Earth. Like, if it were real.
No. If this was the curve of the Earth, this would be about a third of the Earth.
Correct. It'd be like
right?
Small.
This is all New Mexico. This is all New Mexico. We looked at all of the lines and stuff in here. It's all New Mexico. Right, that is impossible.
But that represents almost 30 or 40% of the northern hemisphere, if you believe.
Right, of course. Now this is the camera inside the capsule when he got in was here. The horizon 10 feet off the ground, and this is at 127,000 feet. The horizon doesn't move.
Yeah.
As you go up, you can see farther. The Earth should be dropping. At 3 miles, there's a 6 foot drop. At 100 miles, there's a mile drop, and then it exponentially gets worse from there. Right.
Right.
Yeah, so he's at 127,000 feet, and the horizon does not change.
Miles. Yeah.
And the horizon does not drop.
Guys, here's what I'm going to ask my listeners here, guys. I'm not begging you to believe flat Earth, and I'm going to make my opinion clear on this here in a second. But I'm not begging you to believe in it. I'm just telling you to look at the facts, like look at what it actually is, and then start asking your own daggone questions about it, because they're right here, they're right in front of you. And a regular person who doesn't believe in flat Earth, for example, can ask these questions and then challenge people who are quote unquote smarter than they are to answer these questions and see what they come up with. And I'll tell you, a lot of times, man, people just don't have good answers. They don't even try to answer. They just kind of ad hominem, and they call you stupid for even asking very legitimate questions. So I wanted to let the audience know kind of where I stand on this. Dave, the stream that you did really thrust me in a completely different direction, which I'm sure it does with a lot of people. And there are extremely legitimate questions that do not have answers to them. Nobody, and no matter how much research I've done, how many times I've asked people, there's just not answers to some of this stuff. So where does this fall in my mind? Well, it's frustrating because I can never see with my own eyes. I can't ever see with my own eyes. I can't go out into space. I don't have the resources or capability to do it. But we can send cameras up. And everything that I've seen from the cameras that aren't manipulated indicate that there is a much bigger mystery out there than what they're leading on to. So that audience, I want to let you know that's where I stand. And I'm a huge skeptic about everything that I've been fed at this point.
On the app, if you just go to images section, I just put in fisheye, and you have this is taken by an amateur balloon, and this is NASA, right? Same height. It's how many times you need to see something like this to understand?
How far away would you'd have to be 1 million miles away from the Earth to see that sort of curvature if that were the case? Like if that was a legitimate picture. And they don't send things out that far. They just don't do that. There's so
they had there's a shot of the Earth from 1 million miles away, and then the moon goes in front of it. It's so stupid. It's literally like they would probably reject that as a clip on South Park because it looks so stupid. It's too stupid for South Park.
I love it. All right, let me kind of move this here. Okay, let's talk about this because this is and this is something that I don't know much about. I have shifted my opinions on it though. So gravity in physics. Gravity is almost a curse word. If I go in a Twitter space, flat Earth Twitter space, I start talking about gravity, I get laughed out of the space. Not really, but you know what I mean. So what's the theory of gravity in flat Earth? How do you account for things like tides and things like that as well? So let's start with gravity first. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Why don't I start with it and I'll pass over to Dave. So gravity, mathematically, like if you're trying to solve for the force of gravity between two objects, okay, you've got the force of gravity is equal to the gravitational constant, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th, times the mass of the first object, times the mass of the second object, divided by the radius between the two objects squared. Okay, so let's say we're trying to calculate the force of gravity on me from the Earth. Okay, well, we've established that the radius of the Earth is something that is in question because we don't think the Earth is a ball. We think it's flat. And obviously, the flatter something gets, the larger that radius becomes, right? Do we agree? As the radius gets larger and as the radius is approaching infinity, that thing is getting flat. So if radius is infinity and that's in the denominator, then what that creates is something that's equal to 0. So any mathematical formula that has the radius of the Earth or the radius between 2 points that involves the Earth has to equal 0. So the force of gravity mathematically equals 0 if you can disprove curvature, which I believe that we've done. So beyond that, if gravity isn't what regulates us, if it's something else, like we all agree that things close to the surface of the Earth tend to fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. Right. It seems like something that you can repeat. I don't think we
can measure it for the most part, right?
But it does not mean that gravity exists. And I'll give you an example. So they say that they've proven the existence of gravity because they've proven the existence of gravity waves, which they call ripples in space-time. So there was something called, it was LIGA. It was in like the Arizona desert or something like that. It was this huge array that was supposedly observing two black holes a billion light years away orbit each other and eventually collide. Okay,
a billion light years.
Yeah, and if you want to calculate what that is, so the sun is 8 light minutes away. So multiply that times 65,000 to get to a light year. And then multiply times a billion to get to a billion light years, and then turn out the lights because it's a black hole. So I don't even know how you find it, right? So it observes these two black holes combine, and then they were going to measure the ripples in space-time as they come back to the Earth. Now, they did not measure the gravitational waves or ripples in space from the moon, which is only 240,000 miles away, supposedly. They measured it from two black holes a billion light years away, and they said that they proved the existence because the ripple in space-time that they measured was less than the diameter of the nucleus of an atom. Okay. This is what they claim to have recorded and proven the existence of gravity with. So Dave, why don't you explain what we do believe in, since we don't believe
so just real quick, a billion light years away, that means that gravity wave, does it go to speed of light, Matt? It's been traveling for a billion years.
Changing.
Yeah, it's so stupid. So Brandon, do you believe in magnets?
Do I believe in them? Yes.
Yeah, they work. They
force.
You feel the force. They can pull or push. Right. Do you understand what electrostatics is? That a positive and a negative will attract, and two negatives will push away when you have something electrically charged, like a balloon. You get an electric charge on it, it sticks to the wall. Right. Walter Lewin, MIT professor, says that everything in our world is held together with electrostatics. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Everything, the air we breathe, us, plants, animals, everything, our houses, the ground, and the ground has a measurable negative charge, and the sky has a positive charge. So anything that's touching the ground is connected to the ground, and it has its weight due to buoyancy and density. But once you're in the air, you're surrounded by a positive charge. The ground is not moving, so it's attracting you down. It says down is this direction. Electrostatics can be measured, tested, manipulated, can actually be tested. Gravity is just a theory. So let's just look at a quick test. So here we have some leftover balloons, right? and they're holding this. There's just a button here. It's about 2 inches off the ground. And we have this wire that goes to a Van der Graaf generator, which allows us to change the charge of this. So we're not changing gravity. We're going to add a positive charge. And when we add a positive charge, it's more attracted to the ground and it pulls the balloons down. And then when we discharge it, it goes back up. Now, did we manipulate gravity or do we manipulate electrostatics? Here we can do the same thing. Tinfoil, we put a negative charge into it. It goes up. We turn it off. It goes down. Right? Turn it back on. It goes up. It stays up because negative and negative are pushing away from each other. Are we manipulating gravity or are we manipulating electrostatics? Clearly, testably, provably, repeatably, we're manipulating electrostatics. Let's pretend gravity is real. The globalist scientists say that the electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity. Brandon, I can't even fathom what that is. This is MIT. Not MIT. Is this MIT? No, not MIT. Where was this? Harvard. I think at MIT. This is called the silent drone. It has no moving parts. It's flying with electrostatics. It has no moving parts. It can fly due to changing its electrical charge. Are we manipulating gravity or are we manipulating electrostatics? During lightning storms, things way different. Things fall at different speeds. Sometimes when lightning strikes next to somebody, the person goes flying in the air. Did gravity disappear or did the charge in the ground turn positive for a split second and send that person flying? Okay. So that is provable, but let's pretend gravity is real. 10 to the 36. Brandon, you can't fathom what 10 to the 36 is. If you were standing here next to me and I punch you, I gave you just a solid punch, like, you know, like you called me dick and I punch you. You'd be like, ouch. If I punch you 100 times harder, it'd probably really hurt. If I punch you 1,000 times harder, probably break your shoulder. If I punch you 100,000 times harder, you'd go to the floor. You'd probably break your back. 1,000,000 times harder, you're dead. 1,000,000,000 times harder, it'd probably explode. A trillion times harder, it would probably blow up the whole neighborhood. Something, you know, you can't fathom what that amount of force is. That's 15 zeros. 15 zeros or 12 zeros? 12 zeros. Yeah, that's we have to get up to 36. We have to go up times 1,000 times 1,000 times. It's so stupid how big it is, right? And so if gravity was real, it's zero because 10 to the 36, the something that we can measure, which is a weak force in itself, it just makes that zero. If gravity was, if I had a 45-pound barbell here and gravity was the only thing pulling it down, it would never pull it down. It would just sit there. Electrostatics pulls it right to the ground. It attracts it to the ground. Grit down is this way. It's a weak force. Buoyancy and density sort everything else out.
So can you guys hear the air conditioning unit in the background here or no?
No.
Okay, cool. So let's segue into this. So what's the force of a vacuum? And thinking that this is, how's there air pressure if we're not in an enclosed environment?
Right. Well, they say that gravity is holding the earth down, right? Holding the air down and the air is spinning with, this is the official story, that the bumpiness of the earth over millions and millions of years has gotten all of the air to spin with the earth at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, 500 miles an hour, like in north, and the farther you go, the slower it's going because it's making a smaller circle on the ball. It's all stupid. It's all ridiculous. There's actually 300 mile an hour circular winds going, outrunning the speed of the earth above at like 40,000 feet, outrunning the speed of the earth. If the earth was spinning, some of that air up high would be lagging back. It wouldn't be outrunning the earth, right? It's all insanity. You have to believe this is going on, right? They make it so confusing here. And this is important. We're gonna back up just a little bit. A trillion, right? Speaking of a trillion,
that's how many Dome are in supply.
Yeah, so there's not 100 trillion. How many Doge tokens are there? You know, Brandon?
I think it inflates 5 billion per year, actually.
But there's tens of trillions of them, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Tens
We have
trillion.
1 trillion. 1 trillion is a great number. How big is 1 trillion? Brandon, how long do you think 1 trillion seconds is?
I have no idea.
Take a guess, and I'll give you a Bitcoin if you guess it within 2 days.
Oh, how many days worth?
Yeah. Well, how many
seconds?
Yeah. Well, how about if you guess it within 2 weeks?
32,000 years.
You know the answer, but it's 31,000 years.
Oh no, I just guessed. I didn't know.
That's funny that no one's ever guessed it before. 31. Think about it. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. You can't fathom what that is. The closest star, other than our sun, which they say is a star, is 25 trillion miles away. So if you and I were in a spaceship going going a mile per second, faster than anyone's ever gone, and we went for 1 trillion seconds, we've gone 1 trillion miles. Mile per second, 1 trillion seconds, 1 trillion miles. We've been together for 31,000 years. We have to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star, right? But I'm good friends with Elon, right? You know, we're brothers, and he's going to lend me a rocket ship that goes 100,000 miles an hour. It's going to cut some time off. It's only going to take us 28,000 years to get to the closest star. I don't think the Earth is 28,000 years old. Right?
Guys, the interview's over. I like Elon. The interview's over. Okay.
Well, I said he lent me a rocket. I'm just talking about how far it is. I'm not saying anything bad about Elon. All right. I'm not saying anything bad.
The only thing I would add to the gravity discussion is that gravity is needed to stick things to a ball and to have that ball revolve around other balls. If you don't have that, if everything is flat and motionless, you don't need gravity. There's only one up and there's only one down. And Dave, what you didn't answer was the fact that he was asking about the force of a vacuum and the fact that you live in an encapsulated environment.
Right, yeah. So how, if gravity is holding it down from the Tor 17 vacuum, which is a vacuum we can't even create on Earth, of space.
The vacuum of Earth that they talk about, right?
The vacuum of space is is the strongest vacuum. Like we do it. We have a vacuum chamber here. NASA has it. The walls are 10 feet thick of steel and concrete, so it doesn't collapse upon itself. And they can only get down to like a Tor 10 or a Tor 7, something like that. And so that's like not even a full vacuum, but we can't even recreate that here. But I can, with the weak low pressure of my mouth and lungs, hold a straw downwards and suck air and water up and away from gravity. But the Tor 17 vacuum can't. Once you think about it, it makes no sense. But the problem is most people don't want to ever think about it.
So the thing that maybe you brought up, or another guy that I talked to ask questions, it's, how do you believe that we're in a pressurized system? Do you think that we're in an enclosure? Because like, how do we have air pressure? How can air pressure exist if it's not in a closed system? That was one of the big things that popped my mind.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And so I would describe that as the firmament that was created on day 2, basically the dome that encapsulates our world and likely comes down to rest in the Antarctica ice wall region. And if you can picture like an upside down bowl going into a bathtub, right? So the firmament was created to separate the waters above from the waters below, as the Bible describes. And so you take that upside down bowl, you put it in a bathtub, and it captures air inside that bowl, right? That upside down bowl. And so that's what we're in. We're inside that pressurized system. You can't have a positively pressurized system without some kind of structure encapsulating it. And the interesting thing is that a lot of Bible translations on day 2 will call the firmament an expanse, like an empty expanse of air. And that's them trying to work outer space into the equation. But Psalm 19:1 says that the firmament shows God's handiwork. All right. So if I was to install a door in my office, okay, and I wanted to show you my handiwork, my craftsmanship, I wouldn't open the door and show you the empty space between the 2 jambs as a display of what a great craftsman I am. No, I'd show you the hard surface. In fact, the word firmament has the word firm in it. It's called his terrible crystal. It's his strong looking glass. Over and over and over in the Bible, this is talked about as something physical, right? And something really cool that I've recently come across in the Bible is when we had Noah's flood, okay, God opens the windows of heaven and the fountains of the deep burst forth. And so not only was rain an issue in the great flood, but also the fact that the waters were rising from underneath. So if you had that bowl, okay, and you sunk it in the bathtub and you cut a hole in the top, like opening the windows of heaven, not only would water go in, but air is coming out. That air pressure is coming out, so that water is rising. Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I used to live in an apartment complex when I was growing up, and they built the apartment complex so the river was actually higher than the apartment complex. So when things started to flood, the apartment complex was kind of in a bowl, and the apartment complex would flood from the manholes up. The water would shoot up instead of the river spilling over into the complex. Very similar to what you're talking about.
That's exactly what's happening. And so I then started to look and see, well, after the flood, was there an incident of God basically putting air pressure back into the system? And there actually was. At the end of the flood, the Bible says that a great wind blew over the entire earth and the flood waters receded. The windows of heaven were closed. And that was that. So that's
cool.
Genesis.
Can I tell him the story of what happened in Tennessee after?
Yeah, one more. But the only thing I would say after that is the fact that this whole thing is created because pressure is being let out, right? We're creating a low pressure system. And that's exactly what a hurricane is. A hurricane is a low pressure system. So it's likely that the flood was literally the largest hurricane to ever happen on the earth because of the air pressure being let out. And I believe that when the pressure was put back in, that the level of the water is actually higher now than what it was originally, because I believe we live in a lower pressure system now. That's why people aren't living as long, because the Bible talks about people living for thousands of years, almost thousands of years prior to the flood. And
all of those cities we're finding underwater now, it's because the water levels are higher.
Yeah, exactly.
I've read some scientific experiments where they put plant life in high pressure systems, and these things just grow to be gargantuan, and they live much longer. Yeah.
Yes.
Here's a enclosed system that has, it's self-sustaining. This has been closed for over 40 years, and there's all sorts of life in here, and it's just a self-contained system. Try that on a ball with a burning sun next to a space vacuum. All of the stuff that the helio-nonsensical system is absolutely mind-numbingly stupid.
All right, guys, you heard it there first. Absolutely mind-numbingly stupid. Are you offended yet? I hope so.
All right. Here's the challenge. The challenge. Go to my website, flatearthdave.com. You can get the app is the best way, because every day on the app, there's a featured video right here. And I just say, watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, send me your one globe proof, and you win 6 Bitcoins for this show if you say you're a fan of Brandon and he bans you. All right. And the archives are right here. The frequently asked questions are under the question mark. There's all sorts of stuff on here. Again, you'll set up, if you get the app, set up your dome. But if you don't want to get the app, that's fine. Scroll down to see a big picture of me. It says Crash Course, and watch a minimum of 3 videos. I say the first 3. And you too will lose the respect of your family and friends temporarily until they become flat earthers too.
Especially during the holidays, right? How's that flat earth doing, Brandon?
Yeah.
Hey, all right. Are you guys doing okay on time? I forgot to ask you. Are you okay?
I'm running a little low, maybe 10 minutes.
All right. 10 minutes here. All right. So I want to ask you this, Dave and Matt, if you've been in this situation, what's the most difficult question that you ever had to overcome when it came to somebody who believes in the opposite of what you believe? So maybe in a debate or anything like that, like, can you give any credit there? Like, what's the most difficult question that you've had that you struggled to
I'll start. I don't think it's a question so much as it is a mindset, because there's nothing like trying to talk to someone about this that is like they just won't have it. Like, it's almost like you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. It's someone who will ask you a question. You answer the question, and while you're still mid-answer, they're now asking you another question. Well, what about this? Right. What about that? As opposed to actually listening to you speak, because I do think this is like any other argument out there. There's evidence, and then there's interpretation of evidence. So we've all seen that meme where I'm standing on one side and I see a number 6 on the ground. Dave's standing on the other side and he sees it as a 9. We're both looking at the same evidence. What we have is different worldviews that are approaching that evidence. So when you watch the History Channel and you watch the Discovery Channel, you're not watching unbiased evidence. You're watching their interpretation of the evidence. In a murder trial, the prosecution and the defense, they are arguing over their interpretation of the evidence, not the evidence itself. They're trying to get the jury to adopt their version of the evidence to either convict or exonerate the client. So what I run into is, like, satellites are a difficult question, different things like that. Gravity is even a difficult one just because people are so programmed, but really it's the mindset of someone who just will not listen to the fact that, like, I don't think we have to have every question answered. I think the fact that we can disprove motion and curvature disproves a spinning ball. Like, done. Dave's point about the encapsulated system, that disproves the ability to have a spinning ball flying through space. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, the falsification is independent of replacement. So if we falsify the globe, we don't need to come up with a replacement, although we do have replacements for most of this. There's not any hard questions. The hardest part is getting people to listen without them galloping from question to question to question, because they'll just go, whoa, what about this? They won't even listen. And then after they go through 5 or 6 or 10, other things, they go back to the one that you already explained because they didn't hear it. And the hardest thing is getting people to understand. But when they get to the point where they're like, well, why the lie? Right here, why the lie? If they hit why the lie, why the lie? Up comes a list of unbelievable videos that are all being hidden from you. And these are my favorite videos, and these are the ones that will get you. But on here, the second one down, this woman, Laura Nina, she does this 10-minute rant on why they lie. It is the best thing ever as far as that. And so those videos there, to me, are worth their weight in gold, and there's a lot of them. So, that's the hardest thing. I agree with Matt is getting people to actually listen to the answers, because we have answers for all of them. So there really is no hard question. There lots of times we say, we don't know. What is the sun? How far is it? We don't know. Well, flat earthers say it's 3,000 miles away and 30 miles across. Some say that. I think it's way closer. I think it's closer than the sun that we see. I don't think it's physical. I think it's way closer. But that's a whole nother thing. We can't touch it. We can't measure it. We can't triangulate it. We can't explore Antarctica. We don't need to prove the earth is flat. That is easy. Everything measures flat. Everything measures flat, right? It's just angles to stars is how they made the globe, right? You're standing under Polaris. I think I showed you before. So there's a point. You move 50 miles away, and now Polaris is at a little bit of an angle. You draw a circle around that center point. You go farther away, you draw a bigger circle. You go farther away, you get to the point where you can't see Polaris anymore. They say that's the equator, and they take all those circles, they wrap them around the ball, and they say the South does the same thing, but it doesn't. When you start looking into the South and plane flights and everything, the South actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's so much evidence of that. There's hours worth of evidence. And I tell people, if you're interested, go to my website, go on the app. On the app, if you just hit the web button, there's a button called Dave's Interviews, called Interviews right here. Bam. And there's over 1,300 interviews there, I think. And if you just follow them and take the time and listen and think, it will change your life. It'll change your life forever. It changed mine, changed Matt's, and it changed yours.
Yeah, it did. It put my mind in a completely different direction, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you. That's all you, man.
I think something that Dave brings up and his app solves this is the fact that, first of all, people weren't taught the globe, they were programmed with the globe. So you're not trying to just unlearn knowledge, you're literally trying to help them unlearn something that they feel like is a part of them, like the patriotic idea of landing on the moon. Like, that's some of the stuff.
Their identity.
Yeah, it's part of their identity, right? And so, one, it's tough to find the correct information when you go on YouTube, which is why you need Dave's app, because Dave's app is literally a flat earth approved app that only has genuine flat earth content, right? So people have to unlearn the globe, and then you have to unlearn them this idea that we live on a flat, square-shaped rock in the middle of the solar system that you could just sail off of into the emptiness of space. So there's a double unprogramming, because not only are you programmed with the globe, you're also programmed with the false version of the flat earth. And so that's why Dave's app is so great, because you can get in there and actually get some info.
Thank you. Dave, I know you got to go soon. I have a question from a fan, if you guys are willing to field that.
Yeah,
if you have
absolutely.
enough time
100%.
All right. And I told him that I was going to highlight his Twitter. I think that's fair. Okay, this is Facing Reality for people on the podcast at Erwin Janssens 4. And Erwin wanted to know here, Let me see here. Yeah. He said, I want to ask Dave how he feels about all the newcomers, a lot of really brilliant minds that have entered the space. And he talks about Alan, Toby, Shane, Crypto Keys, aka Sacred, and Proud. I don't know if you know who those people are.
I know every single one of them. It's amazing.
Yeah, but he says, how do you feel about those folks? And then he asks, what could he do and what could your community do to combine your powers and reach to, I guess, spread your message, essentially?
You know what? It's all about joining forces. They want to divide. They divide us by countries, sports teams, political parties, everything, anti-crypto, crypto. Just, they want us fighting races. Systemic racism is false. They're creating it. They want us divided because divided, they win, divide and conquer, right? If we just come together, like, those guys, Sacred, he's got a thing called on Twitter Space on Fridays called Flat Earth Fridays. It goes through the night into Saturdays. And they entertain people coming on board, telling their stories, and they love it when Globers come on and they have really interesting conversations. I've been jumping on that a lot. So look for that Flat Earth Fridays on Twitter Space, and go there. What can we do? We can all work together. Like when there's another flat earther, Jaron, great flat earther. I don't agree with some of the things that he says. That makes us better, by the way. Okay, because we can work off each other, right? We all know the bull is ridiculous, but some of us have different ideas, but that's okay because we're trying to figure this thing out. It's okay to disagree. There's other people that say, that there's a group now that says the earth is rising upwards. Ridiculous, right? But they have the right to say that. Here's the thing. The truth is the truth and it'll never change. A lie can only live in your mind. Right? So the truth side has the massive advantage, right? We are at the center of creation. They don't want us to know that our thoughts create our reality. Look at your life, Brandon. Guess what? It's your fault. It's the way that you think, right? No matter what it is, good or bad, it's your fault because that's the way you think, right? Your thoughts literally create your reality. And people don't know that. Like if people are afraid of being broke, they're going to be broke, right? And I'm not just saying, oh, okay, I'm going to be rich and stuff. You have to actually manifest your life. And it works. Matt, look at your life, right? You're crazy. I mean, Matt goes, I want 10 kids. Where are you? You're at 12 now? Okay.
We're almost there.
He's a modern day Genghis Khan, except with one wife.
Matt figured, and so here's the thing. If you're a flat earther, help other people find the truth, because what's the greatest thing that happened to change your life? It's usually discovering the false reality and unplugging from it. So help somebody else do that. That's a godly thing to do. Help somebody else see the truth. And then when they see the truth, you draw the line right there. You say, now there's a creator. Your relationship with the creator is your own business, right? You can set an example for them. Matt sets a great example. I set my example. And that's where I kind of draw the line. And I say, that now you see it and then move on. Matt has a different format for making new flat earthers. He just makes new flat earthers. Okay.
Kiddos.
Yeah.
Soccer teams. Yeah. Soccer teams of them. Interesting. All right. So I want you to talk to me about a pretty exciting announcement that has to do with your app. And we kind of talked about it before here. It has something to do with Dome. So what's this all about? Talk to me about
Matt. Lead the way.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, so in crypto, it's all about going to the moon, right? Well, in the flat earth model, which we can talk about later, the moon is actually not the highest thing in the sky. The dome is the highest thing in the sky, right? So we've created a crypto token called Dome Shot. Okay. It's basically a meme token, except there's some pretty awesome utility that goes with it. And it has to do with Dave's app. So we're going to be doing an airdrop to all the users of Dave's app. Okay. First of all, we're also going to start paying for referrals in Dome Shot. So Dave, you want to take it from there?
Yeah. So on the app, when you go into the friend finder, there's a referral section. And when you open that up, you have a referral code here and you can customize it. It's just a random number. And you put in your code. And then when you're talking to somebody about flat earth, you're showing them things on the app from the images or videos and stuff. Everyone says the same thing. Where do I get that app? And you say, here, get it, but use my code, DITRH, or whatever your code is. It could be anything up to 7 characters. And when they do it, you get a point. right? And those points, you can trade them in for, there's a subscription on the app for some of the higher functions if you want to be able to do calls and videos and all sorts of stuff with other people. And there's a dating section on there, or a matchmaker, we call it, and there's a meetup maker. So you got the meetup maker, matchmaker. Those things, you have to have the subscription. It's $11 a year or just 11 referrals. So we were doing that for a while. It's been going really well. But now with the referrals, you're going to get Dome tokens. And we'll go over the numbers with you in a second. We kind of just, we're just finalizing it now. And there's going to be an airdrop, and I'll let Matt tell you most about that. But the airdrop is going to be for anybody that has entered their MetaMask. 0 referrals. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is put a MetaMask in there. So you go to the friend finder, which is the handshake button. You go to the middle button up here, which is your referral status. And right here, you just paste in your MetaMask address.
Right.
Brandon,
so
you have a MetaMask? You have a MetaMask address, Brandon?
Yeah.
Just post it in there, and now you're in for the airdrop. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is on September 11th, we're going to airdrop 33 million tokens to anyone that puts in their wallet address. And from that point on, we're also going to start paying for referrals. And so every referral is going to get 1.5 million Dome. And then every Christmas, we're going to reset that. We're going to have a flattening, we call it, where the amount of Dome that gets referred out for every referral lessens, so that we can continue the cycle for about 4 years.
So if we look on the app here, I'll go to this is the leaderboard. These are the top 100 people. There's people with, tons of referrals here. And so all of the referrals that you have from the beginning of time all the way through December 25th, Christmas 2024, are going to get, whoops, you know what? I forgot to do this. There we go. Now you can see it better. All of those are going to get 1.5 million per referral. After December 5th, we have a flattening, and it goes down to 1 million for the next year. And then that gets flattened again the Christmas after. We do that for 3 more years until the tokens are gone or the time passes. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty good. The idea is that we've created a token that has an unbelievable community behind it that you've already mentioned, the Flat Earth community. So a loyal community as well as extreme utility. This is the first crypto token in the history of the world that has figured out how to monetize truth, in our opinion, right? So we're spreading the truth about the Flat Earth, and at the same time, we're also getting rewarded in the future of currency.
We're almost at 200,000 people on the Dome token, and we've just started, right? On the friend finder, on the friend finder. So we have a solid community of very passionate people. And what is everybody that's a flat earther? All you want to do is wake up your friends, right? So wake up your friends, earn points, earn Dome, and unplug them from the matrix and free us from this, this satanic world that we're living in with all of these, insane rulers. We don't need those rulers. We don't need government. Govern is to control, and ment is the mind.
Yes, and one more thing that we forgot to mention that's involved in the tokenomics is that inevitably, because there are people that are on the app that have referrals that don't give us their MetaMask address.
Oh yeah,
those unclaimed Dome are going to go into a pot and sit there for the year, and then every December 25th on Christmas, we're going to distribute those to everyone who's provided their MetaMask address, regardless of referrals, and it's going to be distributed based on the amount of Dome that you have in that wallet. So the more Dome you have in that wallet, the more freedom you're going to receive.
Right. If I had just for a number 10 million in mine, and Matt had 1 million in his MetaMask wallet, I'm going to get 10 times as much of that pot because I have 10 times the amount of tokens. So this encourages people to kind of lock up their tokens. It's kind of like staking your tokens. The longer you hold, the more you earn. And the other thing is, how many will that be? Well, let me tell you something. Right now, there's only about 150 to 175 people that have put their MetaMask address in there. The amount of people that have done referrals is in the thousands, in the tens of thousands. So I think that a vast majority of the people are not going to put their MetaMask in there, and that pool is probably going to result in you more tokens than Matt and I are expecting, actually. But that's okay.
All right, so let's sum this up. So here's what I like about this, and I'm going to speak to my audience here too. You know, I did something with a partner of mine where we tokenized a nonprofit in Texas. And you basically take an organization that already has infrastructure in place and you give them the gift of the blockchain. And I believe that, you know, we're probably about 5 to 8 years ahead of the curve. I think that every major organization across the world is going to eventually be tokenized. I think that nonprofits are going to be tokenized. I think that large companies, enterprises are going to be tokenized. I think that sports teams are. And I think that you guys making the decision to tokenize is huge, because it's gonna make a lot of sense in a short amount of time here. Now, you guys are launching on the Pulse Chain network, correct?
Correct.
That is correct. That was another reason that we wanted to do this, was because one, I'm a day 3 hexakin. I've sacrificed for Pulse and PulseX, and so I want to see that community grow. And so trying to bring the flat Earth community over to the Pulse Chain community, I believe will definitely help that.
And the other thing, Brandon, doing it on the Ethereum side is we couldn't do it. It costs too much, the gas fees.
Yeah. But here's the cool thing. If you have an Ethereum wallet, I believe that you can put your Ethereum wallet in this as well. And then when you go to Pulse Chain, your tokens are there.
Yep.
Yep,
Which
and
is
if you
super cool.
Right, if you go to domeshot.io, we've got some videos on there on how to do that.
Right. And for those of you, I mean, your listeners, 99% of them know how to set up a wallet. But if you have no idea what any of this is, just go to domeshot.io. We have instructional videos. It's simple. You download the app, you create the wallet, simple, copy the address, open up your Flat Earth Clock app, paste it in. 33 million Dome is yours if you do it before September 11th.
Very interesting. And how many users do you have on that app again?
We're almost 200,000. We're going to hit 200,000 by the end of September.
And there's utility in this token because you're going to be able to use this token to unlock features on the app, correct?
Right. Well, you can first when you earn Dome, you're also earning a point. The points are different. So you can use those points to unlock the subscription. The subscription is $11 a year, but it's so easy to everyone you show the app to help wake them up, they're all going to say, where do I get the app? Yeah. And it's available on iOS, on the Apple App Store, on the Google Play Store, and you can also download it direct for all Android phones on my website. A direct download, and you can do it that way. But where are they going with that? What was your question? I'm sorry.
No, yes. just I was curious about the utility of this token because most don't have utility, but this does. Right.
Well, we're going to add also, there's going to, as our store grows, as our shopping grows, and as we do events, we're going to have a big event next year in Texas. Matt doesn't even know about it, for Flat Earth and the old world. And you'll be able to use your Dome tokens to get a discount off of tickets and other things. So
mention advertising.
Yeah.
On the app.
Great.
Yeah. If you want to advertise on the app, you can purchase it with Dome tokens, and we're going to make it kind of fun. Like, hey, if you want to purchase an ad, it costs you $5,000 US or a ridiculous low amount of Dome. All right.
Yeah.
So, because we don't want your fiat currency, we want Dome. We want you to use the crypto. So, some people might look at that and go, "Wow, does that mean that Dome's worth this much?" Well, not really, but it could be.
What percentage of your organization after 5 years do you think is going to hold some sort of Dome? If you could just ballpark it.
That's a great question. I really got to think about that. But, we have 200,000 people on the Friend Finder. There's more people on the app. I don't know. It could be half of them, Yeah. It could be. I don't know. It depends on, how well we get the message out there. But we're going to be talking about this more and more. We're going to be making videos, TikToks, and the airdrop is kind of like the big payday. And so, it's kind of fun. And we're not even telling people, don't buy Dome. Don't go out there and buy huge bags of Dome right now. Don't, because that'll be a lot of Dome. Just take the airdrop, sit on it, have fun with it. And you know what? If you're a flat earther, you'd do this for free. You would do all of this for free. That's all you want to do when you're a flat earther, is wake other people up to reality. Because when you unplug from the matrix, it is a much more beautiful world than living in there.
Well, what's interesting about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that we're hopeful that this brings within the community, within the FE Clock user community, is that someone who was maybe, too tepid to get into crypto, this is a free way, risk-free way. Like, you literally just give us the wallet address, we send it to you for free, and now you have a chance to experiment in this world of crypto that maybe they wouldn't have been able to before.
Great. I think this is so cool. It's on Pulse Chain too.
Yeah.
Pulse Chain's a system state copy of Ethereum. If you guys aren't familiar, you can go to pulsechain.com, check out that information. You can go to YouTube, put in Pulse Chain. We probably have more YouTubers than anybody else out there, any other cryptocurrency community.
So Brandon, let me tell you, if I can figure it out, then anybody could do it. I mean, because when I first heard about crypto, it was like, I'll never learn this, and now I'm teaching other people about it, right? Yeah. And we came up, the Dome, the mining, it's not proof of work, it's not proof of stake, it's proof of mind. We're minding people.
Yep. Proof of mind and proof of truth, right?
Yeah.
Love it. All right.
Yeah. Super fun.
Well, guys, this is really cool. I can't wait to share it with the Pulse Chain community because, adoption's everything. It's a brand new layer one, and you're bringing this massive community over to Pulse Chain. So I'd like to thank you for that. That's really cool, guys.
Just remember, if you forget everything, go to flatearthdave.com. Everything is there. You can find the app there. You can find links to Dome. You can find everything from the old world to flat earth proofs to this interview. It'll be on the interview section. So everything is at flatearthdave.com. Everything you need in the world is there.
Great. Well, guys, incredible podcast here. I think we could have gone longer. I got so many different questions.
We haven't even started. But maybe we'll do round two.
Yeah, we do round two. And, for the audience out here, you guys could sit there and you can listen to some comedian be stupid for 2 or 3 hours on a podcast. Or you can listen to some flat Wall Street guy talking about technical analysis, but you got a very, very interesting podcast today. And I hope I presented it in such a way that allowed these guys to talk about their perspectives, share their opinions on this, so you can get an actual idea. And Dave, you were talking about something a second ago. We're going to cut this off here, but when you get in a conversation with these people, they don't ask you questions to understand. They ask you questions to paint you in a box.
They try
and put you in a box. And that's like with anybody that disagrees with somebody these days, that's the technique that kind of happens. And I wish we had more of a Socratic method where we ask a question because we don't understand and we want clarification on that. I hope that people can do that more, and I hope that this podcast kind of helps out with that. So
one last thing I want to say
please.
Is for those people that are like, oh, this is stupid, you're still here, that's great. And if you're here and you think it's stupid, awesome. Come collect your 6 Bitcoins. If you think it's stupid, you should be able to come up with one. I'm not asking for 100 proofs. I'm asking for one globe proof, right? And you can email me, info@theflatearthpodcast.com. But I recommend please watch a bunch of these videos first. Please watch crash course videos first. And please check the FAQs before you send me your same old question that I get 100 times, seasons, whatever. It's all answered there. And once you do that, everything changes.
Love it. Well, guys, this is the Brandon Davis Show. Do not like, comment, or subscribe. And the only thing we aim to change is your mind. Guys, thank you so much for coming out here.
See ya.
All right.